ready, man? Party people in the place to be. It's about that time for us to. Yeah.
What's up, chiropractors? This is Dr. Nick Silveri, your guide up the mountain to $1 million practice. If you're looking for the roadmap to grow your practice fast, then keep on listening. This is the Path to $1 Million podcast, where I chat with today's most successful practicing chiropractors. And remember, if you want to get there faster, visit getmemorenewpatients.com to find out more about Leverage Media, the most comprehensive digital marketing agency for chiropractors on the planet.
What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media. Welcome to another episode of Path to $1 Million podcast, chiropractic's only daily podcast. I'm here with my new friend, Dr. Todd Pickman. We've known each other for a little bit, but we finally got to meet in person recently in San Diego, and it was a pleasure meeting you. Tell the people who you are, what you do, what makes you special.
Cool. Thanks for having me on. Well, what I do, I've practiced almost 17 years, and I've developed a program where we actually teach chiropractors how to put functional movement into their own practice. But that was never my intention in the beginning. In the beginning, it was just I wanted to have a good, healthy operating practice for myself. And it was quite the contrary. I put systems together, and I wanted to keep it secret and not show it to anyone. And then a good buddy of mine who got into ClickFunnels, and he built this online course and stuff. And I saw what he was doing. He was having a lot of fun with it. It was really exciting. I've always loved teaching. And he told me, he said, Todd, you have to take all the stuff that you think should just be for yourself, and you got to share it and give it to people until it hurts.
Right.
And
which you do.
Yes. And so I followed that, and I said, okay. And then it switched gears for me. And now I work with all these doctors, and that's actually how we met. And we can talk about that a little bit later. And it's given me a whole other joy, because now I practice full time, but I also do all the content creation and clinical stuff and consulting. And that's really been a ton of fun. I've met a lot of great doctors, and I feel like in the big picture, I'm able to help a lot more people than just in my own practice, because I'm helping all these other doctors help their patients in their practice. Absolutely. But as far as back to my story, and I'll try to keep it in 20,000 words or less. Basically, let's see. I graduated chiropractic school in 2003, was doing hardcore Gonstead only. And then 7 years into practice, said I wanted to do more for my patients. Stumbled into curve correction, got into chiropractic biophysics, got advanced certified in that. Ended up leading to me being one of the only Gonstead chiropractors that did CBP in my practice. This was out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, working as an associate doctor, and doubled what I was doing in practice. Saw that patients really wanted more structured, measurable care, and I was getting better outcomes. And that led to my wife and I moving and relocating to Eagle, Idaho, and we partnered up in the chiropractic biophysics clinic, helped open that clinic. And then we were there for about a year, and then we parted ways and went off to open our own thing across town, which was then adding the third component, which was functional movement. Because even though we were getting better results with doing our specific adjusting and postural correction and curve correction, I knew there was something else missing, because just from years of bodybuilding and stuff myself, I was always into movement and exercise. And I knew my patients needed it, but I felt like I still wasn't conveying that message just by talking segment and posture. Yeah. And so anyway, I was then on a quest to figure out, okay, what's the best system out there to teach chiropractors how to put corrective exercise, functional movement into their practice that works with chiropractic. So I started going to these seminars, and all the seminars I went to, it was all physical therapists, athletic trainers. There was no chiropractors there. And come to find out, a system like that didn't exist. So that's what we ended up creating for our own clinic, was how to add that third component. And that was quite an undertaking, because we just had to develop systems and trial and error, and finding stuff that didn't work, and finding out people's objections, finding out what worked well for patients. And then we would modify our systems around that until now, years later, we have a very well-oiled machine. And then we have captured every step of what we did in our own practice, and we put it onto this program that we teach other chiropractors how to do as well. But the main reason that we're on this is to talk about pretty much how did we build our practice here when we started in 2014, which is the third clinic I've been in. But it was the first time running my own practice. So this is all new for me. Like I had never been a business owner before.
Right.
And so,
well, I feel like I don't even have a job here. So like, just like let you go, but I'll make sure that I jump in. So first of all, you had to create a ClickFunnels course or they were going to kick you out of Utah. I think that's like the deal, right?
Out of where?
They were going to kick you out of Utah if you didn't develop the
Idaho.
Sorry.
But it's close enough to Utah, so yes.
That's right. They've moved enough of them into Idaho that Russell is expanding his reach. You know.
Well. So funny story. So Russell lives like 3 miles away from me. So Russell and the whole ClickFunnels headquarters is here in Idaho. It's in Meridian, Idaho, and and I mean it started here. And a good buddy of mine, Dr. Chad Woolner, who started Funnel Secrets.
Yep.
He was the influence to me to even get into ClickFunnels and start looking at it. And initially, when we got into ClickFunnels, I built this thing called the 12-week transformation, which was this program for our patients. Here's a manual that our patients get. It's like a home journal that they get where they can track their home care and they can go through this really structured, organized type of care in office and have all the stuff they can look at as far as resources at home.
Yep.
And so that's initially I built the 12-week transformation for our patients, and then it evolved into everything else that I'm sure we'll talk about.
Well, we're going to definitely get in. I want to really focus in on the practice and your growth and what value you can bring to like practicing chiropractors right now. Yeah, but I also think that even if you I talk to so many doctors that are trying to add on a digital component to their practice on top of the brick and mortar. And I've told a couple of people this, but I'm like, if you want to see the right way to add an online piece into your practice beyond just your brick and mortar, you should follow Todd Pickman. Because I don't think, and I told you this in San Diego, I don't think that there's anybody in the profession, including myself, that does a better job of documenting their process, adding value for free. Like people that like, I think it's Move Now University, I think is your free group, right?
Yes, on Facebook. On Facebook,
yeah. So there's a free Facebook group, and I mean, I'm in the paid and in the free, and like you just add so much value, like to where if I was just a starting chiropractor that didn't have any money to spend anything, I could just be in that group and get 60% of what you get in the paid group because you were just always adding value. So when a lot of these like functional medicine doctors will talk to me about wanting to do an online portion, I'm like, you should look at what Todd Pickman is doing because he gives so much. It's not about functional medicine. It's about functional movement, but he gives so much value to his ideal client, which is a chiropractor who's looking to implement it. And then he has an online product that we'll get into in a little bit, but it's just like amazing how much is in there. But I always think that you do a really good job. And I'm, like I told you in San Diego, like I am a connoisseur of people that are good at content marketing and like giving things away and adding value because people will come to you for you to put it all together for them. But if you give them pieces of information that they can use and go be successful without giving you $1, that builds up so much trust. So like, I guess before we get into the practice stuff, kind of, if you could tell me like kind of your thought process on all of that.
Yeah. So I guess the thought process on that is to do exactly what you're talking about, is to really build trust and rapport and loyalty, not as a tactic, but because it's honest, because it's truth, because I'm trying to find other chiropractors who give a damn about great clinical outcomes and a great experience for their patient and raising the bar in chiropractic. Like I feel like on my deathbed, if I look back and say, okay, so what did I do? I want to have a market in chiropractic, and I don't think it's going to be I'm going to come up with some new adjusting technique. Like I'm not trying to do that. I mean, that's already been done, but it's how do you deliver this to people in today's day and age where people want content they can consume and how do you engage them, and how do you speak to them emotionally? How do you do all this stuff to give them the best product in the world, which is chiropractic, and in my opinion, the corrective end of chiropractic,
right?
And get them to want it and get them to really see you as a trusted authority in your community. So that's the stuff I talk about. And I talk about that over and over again, because I'm hoping that that resonates with a certain percentage of our chiropractic brothers and sisters. And then when they're ready, if they're ready to take it to the next level, they say, hey, help me a little further. And then, and then it benefits them. It benefits me, because then they become part of our program. I can work with them closer. And I mean, really from a standpoint of like how we do this, and I've looked at what else is out there. I know these different coaching groups and different practice management stuff, like how it works. And something I wanted to do was make it very easy for doctors to get involved and have more of a long-term relationship with them, not something where they do this for 3 or 6 months and then they quit, but they literally transform their practice and there's no looking back. They do this forever. And for the next 10, 20, 30 years, we have a working relationship. And then we have a culture of chiropractors, a tribe that we've built. And so ultimately, the only way that I think that's possible to do is to do what I'm doing right now. And I'm trying to fast track the process, because life's short. You know, I mean, there isn't time for me to do this and grow this in the next 10 or 20 years. Like I want to grow it in the next like 2 years. And so that's why I have learned the art of sleeping faster.
Right.
Okay.
So I feel you on that, like life's mission thing. I feel this exact same way about content marketing for doctors, like trying to teach them that there's more to marketing than just a $21 Facebook offer. So I feel that resonance with you, just like even before you said that. Cool. All right, so let's get into the practice. So you're a 4-star doctor, meaning that you accelerated through the 0 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to $1 million, and you're currently over $1 million. So let's go through each one of the stages, and you just tell me, what were the big needle movers at each one of the stages. So you started this new practice. So you worked at Deed's office before you started this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So learning from the best in CBP, you come into your own practice. You're starting from scratch. You didn't buy a new one, right?
Correct.
And you had worked in Albuquerque for how many years?
Yeah, so I was out in Albuquerque, New Mexico for like close to 8 years.
And then how many in Deed's office?
Maybe like a little less than a year.
Okay, so you were like almost 10 years into practice.
Yes.
And
yes.
like, so you knew a lot on the clinical side, but you had not run your own practice. So you start from scratch, and you're like, you have all the ingredients. Now it's time to bake the cake.
Yeah. It's just that something that I did have going for me is I came from Albuquerque, and even though I wasn't like in charge of the hiring and firing and all the systems in the practice, I've always been a systems guy. So like all the clinical systems I put together, like I brought CBP into a Gonstead clinic in New Mexico and basically doubled what I was doing in about 3 months, doubled patient volume and doubled collections. I was probably the highest paid associate doctor in the history of chiropractic, and could have stayed there forever. I left a very, very good thing to come out to Idaho to then partner up at that clinic and help them start that clinic. And then basically, just had some different ideas, and I went off and opened up a clinic like across town. And, but still, it was still a brand new experience. Like, cause I didn't know how to hire someone,
Am I allowed to, I don't know the rules of interviewing. Am I allowed to ask what you made at your highest point in Albuquerque, so I can plant a flag in like the highest paid?
Sure. Yeah. I think my best collection months, like gross collections in that clinic, was a little under $80,000 a month. And
so you were truly $1 million associate.
Yeah. And then as far as like take home from that, I had like a sliding scale. So, I mean, as an associate doctor, my like gross pay in some months was, I believe it was like over $35,000.
What was your best year, like W-2?
It's that what happened is I built that there, and I was growing so quickly. And as I was growing, I left. Okay. So
your last year, you didn't make it all the way to the end to really like have
Correct.
That number.
Correct.
Like, what were you on pace to do? Like, what would you have done that year if you'd have been the whole year? Just ballpark.
I mean, probably if I had a solid year like that and it was definitely trending in that direction, if not higher, I mean, I probably would have done probably like $400,000.
Wow. That's it's a pretty good living for an associate. And I feel like that's the way it should work. Like if you're bringing that much value, you're doubling the practice, because I'm sure the practice was like exploding because of your growth.
It was. And that's one of those things where it's like, on one end you say, well, if you're doing that much, why wouldn't you just open up on your own? And it's a double-edged sword. When you open up on your own, then you got to wear all these different hats of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then
because there are not a lot of opportunities out there like yours that are really set up as a win-win, the Albuquerque one, to where I think the chiropractors, they get some of us, like I'd never been adjusted when I went to chiropractic school. Like I was going to go to dental school because I was good at math and science and I wanted to own my own practice. And then I didn't want to go to be a dentist, and chiropractic, like some guy says, oh, you should go to chiropractic school. And I was like, okay. And I did. And that was like, that's my tear jerking story of how I became a chiropractor. So I did it though, because I think I have like that entrepreneurial DNA. There are a lot of people that just went to chiropractic school because like chiropractic saved their life, or like they just wanted to be a doctor. It has nothing to do with whether you should be a business owner or not. And some people are built to be a number 2. Some people are built to be a number 6. And they like, because there are not great opportunities for a lot of associates, I think that a lot of chiropractors get into the trap of like, I have to start my own practice to be successful. And I want to start that's one of the things that I have no like financial interest in, but I would like to start creating content around the idea of like, you can like set up a really win-win situation if you can bring value to all these chiropractors that need associates, because all these successful chiropractors need more associates. It's that they all are trying to nickel and dime them instead of, let me just like figure out a win-win to where you can get paid, I can, grow my practice, get more freedom, whatever. But
no,
I think there needs to be more of that. I'd love to have more chiropractors making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, because that means there's more clinics that are killing it.
Yes. And that is something that in this next year, I'm going to branch out even more. I've already started doing this. I'm helping out with different clubs at different schools. I'm starting to help more in schools. And so they ask me, they say, what's the top advice you can give for a graduate? And I said, don't start your own practice. Don't do it. Why would you do that out of school? You have so many things on your plate. You're still trying to hone in who you are and your technique and all of that. And now on top of that, you're going to learn how to be a business owner straight out of school. That's like a recipe.
There's a lot to it.
It's crazy. I think that is a recipe for the hardest life ever. I would say plan on being an associate for like 3 to 5 years. And if you get in a situation like I got in, that was very win-win, stay there as long as you possibly can. And then maybe when that doctor's ready to move on, buy the clinic from them and take over.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And
that's such an easy transition to do. Like I sold my first practice that way, as I had an associate come in, he built the practice up, I sold it to him, and it was like a great situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it definitely exists out there. So just because it's rare and it doesn't happen doesn't mean it never happens.
Well, like we are getting and I knew this was going to happen because like you love to talk and like you have like such great nuggets and I like just like want to grab onto them. So one of the things, so I have to put the E on the podcast for this one. So one of the things that I think that associates don't, or like chiropractors that are coming out of school don't realize, is if you can go like those win-win situations may not exist like in the classifieds at your school that they post, but if you go and find some clinic that you like and you pitch them on a deal that's good for them and good for you, they're going to say yes. They want somebody who's going to come in and is looking to add value. So if I was an associate, I could go create a job in any place that I wanted to live. I could just pick the place I wanted to live. I could go meet with 10 doctors. And now, knowing now what I know, I could get an amazing associate opportunity because I would pitch them on the opportunity. I wouldn't go look in the classifieds of like, okay, I want to live in Austin, Texas. Who's hiring in Austin, Texas? No, I'd go look for the clinic that I wanted to work in and be like, here's what I'm going to bring to the table. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to do this. I'm going to I'm going to market myself. I'm not going to call, I'm going to make you more money. What business owner would turn down an opportunity for somebody else to make them more money?
Right.
So I love that you had that situation just so that they know that it's possible out there.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe that's a thing that we build out in the future for all of our existing Move Now doctors, is to say, let's empower the students to go approach these doctors out there, both of them trained on the same systems, and now they can expand their clinic, and it's a win-win for everyone. Someone coming straight out of school can then step into a fully functioning clinic that has systems.
Love it. Love it. And especially if they're trained on the systems before they even walk in. So that's so good. All right. So let's actually get to your practice. So 10 years into practice, you start from scratch. What was the biggest thing that moved you from 0 to 250? And you did that within the first year. So what was it that allowed you to hit the ground running?
So right from the get-go, once we found the location of where we wanted to build our practice, because we actually built out a practice in a big empty shell that had never been developed. So we had to do the whole build out. We found a little 1,200 square foot temporary spot. I went into that. I was taking x-rays at a friend of mine's clinic. Actually, Dr. Chad Woolner let me go to his.
Chad Woolner's getting a lot of pub on this one.
Oh, dude, he's like a friend for life. I mean, he bent over backwards just because he's just a super honest, great human being. He insisted that I come into his clinic and use it for as long as I wanted to take x-rays of all of my new patients. And he insisted I didn't pay him. Like, I literally had to force him to take money for paying him. And then he realized pretty quickly that was probably a good idea, because I was bringing like 10 patients in per week to x-ray at his office. And I was doing this when I had a temporary spot set up. I had this little 1,200 or so square foot temporary spot. So
I like that idea. I've never heard anybody say that they, while they were building out their practice, that they had a temporary place. I like, that's a good.
Yeah. Because like prior to that temporary spot, I was seeing patients at my house. I did that for about 6 weeks, because I had established some different friends and people here, and they wanted to be seen. And so they would go to Chad's office, get x-rayed, come see at my house, chiropractic equipment, my living room. I had ChiroTouch set up on a computer on my dining room table. And my wife would check him in and check him out. And I had a bunch of cars parked outside my house. So I knew that wasn't going to last very long. So
if you were bringing in 10 new patients a week, what was your main driver?
Yeah. So then like at the point of where it actually became 10 new patients a week, because like I wasn't growing at that pace out of my house, nor did I want to. But as soon as we got a temporary location, what I did is I started doing lunch and learns. And so what I would do is either my wife, we had 2 staff at the time. So one of our staff who did our traction and stuff, she would go out, we'd make these little gift baskets, and she would go to all the local businesses, and she'd walk in, and her whole spiel was, "Hi, we have a little clinic right down the street, and we wanted to come say hi to our neighbors, and we want to bring you something nice. And if there's anything we can ever do for you in the future, we'd love to help out. By the way, we actually are doing this really fun thing where we can come in, we buy you lunch, or you come to our clinic and we'll buy you lunch, and we can talk about health and wellness and ways that you can just have a better time at work and less stress and whatever." So we had like some little keywords that we would say, and they would say yes, no, maybe. She would do a follow-up process. So she would do like drop-ins on Tuesdays and Thursdays, follow-ups on like Tuesday, Thursday morning. She would usually schedule 2 of these a week for me, and I would go in and do them. And most of them, you'd get 3 or 4 new patients, sometimes more every time. And you just start scheduling new patients like that.
This is the problem with doing podcasts on.
No, it's back. It's back.
All right. Good. All right.
Yeah. Oh, you're freezing again.
All right. There we go. You should be good now.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So real quick on that, were you were going to them, or you were having them come into the office?
Both. I mean, on some cases we would go speak for them. Like we did a lot of banks, we did title loan companies, we did little gyms around the area. And sometimes it was more convenient that they could come over to our clinic. And so they'd all come over to our clinic because they were close by businesses. Some of them were like walking distance, and a lot of them were in like a 3-mile radius. I mean, that's like pretty much how we set up.
Do they walk 3 miles in Idaho a lot?
No.
No. So the gift baskets, what was in the gift baskets?
Gift baskets had like some healthy food in it, like some healthy little snacks, like some fruit and, some healthy bars, and then some pamphlets about our clinic and some business cards.
I love that, going in with a gift. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And like now how we do that, which we haven't done in a while, but we're talking about doing that again, is we have different home rehab equipment. We have this neck trigger point tool, and I have like a gazillion of them because I order them in bulk, because we ship them out to doctors and stuff.
Right.
And so, so what we did is we took these neck trigger point tools and we tied business cards on all of them. This is what we would do back then. And we'd go drop those off at like the front desk person at a business. And we would, and basically we go in and we'd say, we'd love to come in and do a healthy lunch and learn for you, and also give you an opportunity where all of your staff can get all these for free. And that whole opportunity to get all these for free is when they schedule an appointment at our clinic, they get one for free.
Love that idea. That's great. Always be able to attach a service offer with a physical item. I think that is a underutilized strategy.
Because it's something they see and then they remember you.
You know what? Yeah. And it's like something like when they can take something home from it, they're just like, that was worth it,
Sure.
So I love, I always ask these people that come on the podcast, like 0 to 250, what'd you do? Without fail, it is always like, get dirty. Like you have to like get your feet outside of your practice, whether it's you or a staff member, like get out there and meet people, whether it's lunch and learn, screenings, B&I chamber, like go do it. Like they all want to, everybody wants like a shortcut, not everybody, but a lot of people want a shortcut where it's like, let me run this Facebook ad and it'll bring in all the new patients I'll ever need. I'm like, man, if you just had these offline strategies, you're going to be successful. Like the more you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it.
For sure.
So all right. So lunch and learns were the big like mover from 0 to 250 for you. So you're at 20,000 a month. It's still just you in the clinic in terms of like treating physician, right?
Yes. You're
now into your bigger space. How much square foot did you have? Are you still in the same office that you were then?
Yes. So then, so I went from this little 1,200 square foot spot. 3 months later, our space was ready. We moved in. It was 3,300 square feet, and we started growing that. We got that nice and busy. Then we had an opportunity about 8 months later to take on 2,000 more square feet. So we did. So then we then expanded to 5,300 square feet. And really at that time, it was like the whole saying of like building the plane as you're flying it, it was going, and we were trying to build the systems to accommodate the fact that when we got in this new space, I really wanted to put corrective exercise, functional movement in there. I wasn't doing it right away because I didn't really know how. So I was doing Gonstead and CBP, but I just wanted better resources and systems for my patients. So it started off with like making some videos on the website of how to do their home care. And so really like I was so clinically minded, and then kind of on the side, I would continue to do talks and stuff. I was still hustling, but like all my focus was improving the systems and making it a better experience for our patients, which increased conversions and retention and all that sort of thing. And then numbers just kept going up. And I think it's safe to say, we got into that clinic in July of 2014. And I should go back and look at the exact numbers, but I can tell you that, it was probably within the first year and a half that we were then approaching doing like at least 500,000 annual collection.
Yeah. So with when you went into the third, I'm a little bit jealous that you have 5,300 square feet because I have 5,200 square feet. So,
well, like, you know what though, you don't have to be jealous because about less than a year ago, I actually downsized 2,000 square feet less. I went back to the 3,300 square feet, and I did a little bit.
That makes me feel better.
Good. And then I did a little bit of demolition work in our layout. So I repurposed an area as our exercise area, and it actually flows better for us right now, having that smaller footprint. And then it's less overhead, which is also nice too.
That's always nice. So when you moved in, how many months were you in when you moved from the 1,200 to the 1,300?
You mean from the 3,300 to the 5,300?
No, I meant like from the temporary spot. How many months did it take before you got into your
3 months?
3 months.
3 months. Yep.
So once you got to the 250, like, do you think it is just like the systems that really allowed you to grow to the 500, like just adding more value to the patients, or was there something else that? Because it seems like new patient flow was never really a problem. What allowed you to go from the 250 to 500 was just stacking more of them in the office and then keeping the ones that you had, right?
Yes, it was a combination. I just kept doing talks. So the goal was always to do at least 1 to 2 talks per week. I was doing stuff with like a local BNI type group, and I would get into other morning, groups to do a talk, or I would try to get into their business to do a talk. And that yielded a little bit here and there, but it was pretty much doing talks to complete strangers is what really worked well. And so I kept doing that.
I would imagine the results led to referrals. And so that probably picked up pretty quickly as well.
Yes. And because what we do is so different, and because of how we package it and how a patient understands it. I mean, now especially, but I mean, even back then of just doing Gonstead and CBP and, doing this traction thing, but also doing a very specific chiropractic approach. So like they could see that, it was high quality adjusting and high quality spine rehab put together, and people like that. That's where things grew. As our patient base grew more, then I started doing more internal events. And so we would do some internal events. We did like a women's night. We would actually, and something else too that also works well is you find local providers that have referred to you, and you build a relationship with them. You go speak at their clinics, and then you invite them to your clinic to do like a wine and spine event. And now what you do is you're catering a nice meal in your clinic for other healthcare providers. And that's something that really helped quite a bit, because then you get a lot of referrals from healthcare providers because they know you and they trust you and they see that you're legit.
So that event was just for the providers?
Yes.
I like that. And did you do a presentation at that, or was it just kind of like a happy hour
presentation? I do a presentation, but it would be like you'd eat, and it'd be a quick, brief presentation, and I would basically show a case.
That's great. So what was the most successful, like bringing the public in event in your practice that you did around that time?
Man, so I remember we did one in January for like weight loss type stuff, or just, and like, it's not that we do weight loss in our clinic, but it was more or less like New Year's resolutions, starting off the year the right way. I think what we did is we were promoting a 6-day detox type thing. And, I mean, we probably had like 40 patients come in for that, and they all sat, and we had a little presentation we did for them. We also did a couple of open houses in our clinic when we first opened, and we advertised in the area and the community. This is before I knew anything about doing Facebook ads or anything. So we actually sent out mailers. But I think we had like 70 people come to that. And then, staff was trained on how to get them scheduled for an appointment. And we, probably got like 20 or 30 new patient appointments.
That's great. The funny thing is if you did those mailers again today, they would probably be just as effective.
I know.
Like everyone's so dependent on online marketing, but if you like send something in the mail, it'll actually get read.
Well, that and because less and less people are doing like actual print and mail, that now that's kind of a rare thing. Now because now like everyone's going to Facebook ads and stuff. And
exactly.
Yep.
All right, so 500 to $1 million. Did you bring on another associate at that point? Like, what were you doing that allowed you to grow? Like, answer that question. And then after that, just like, what's the most that you've been able to collect with your own services? Because I don't think people realize that at some point you kind of tap out, like you kind of like reach your capacity, and you have to have a team around you to be able to.
Yeah. So pretty consistently, I would consider myself a pretty low volume practicing chiropractor now as far as patient visits, but we do high volume services. So meaning in my mind, not in my mind, I think in our profession, most chiropractors think the way to make it is you have to see lots of volume. You got to see 500 people a week, and you got to charge them nothing. And then when you do like barely nothing times 500, then you get paid well, like if they're paying $20 a visit or $25 a visit or 30. So instead of doing that and having to, in my opinion, cut people short on what we can do as a chiropractor, because it's like a rushed 2-minute visit. They're asking questions about their shoulder. Sorry, I don't have enough time. Got to see the next person. And you're on this like freaking high anxiety treadmill all the time. Cause I did that before. I practiced higher volume, seeing over 300 people a week, which I think is high volume. It's not like 2,000 a week, which is crazy to me, but
Right.
like 300 people a week to me is having to go pretty quick. And so what I did was, well, I guess to directly answer your question as far as collections based on volume, right now I consider myself a lower volume practicing chiropractor. I see between 120, 140 visits a week. That's kind of what I hover around. And I'm fine with that. And I like to actually scale it back, have my associate doc do more, because I'm still practicing full time and I'm really loving the content creation and the consulting side. And I want to be able to allocate some more time for that, because I also have a family and I allocate time to my family. So basically,
your little boy is like the cutest kid that I know. I don't like kids that much, but
that's cute. In San Diego. Oh man, he's cute. Yeah. Well, thanks, but yes, I agree.
He's like a little adult, like he's like 4 years old or something, and he's
almost
like
4. Yeah, he's not even 4
full
yet.
sentences, and it was weird.
Yeah, he's a smart little dude. So normally right now on average, 120, 140 patients a week equates to about usually around $70,000 in collections per month. Okay.
That's great.
And then having an associate doctor and they start doing a little bit more, that's where it equates to even more. So like at our highest, when I had an associate doctor here who was doing pretty well, he was seeing maybe about 70 visits a week, and I was seeing about 110 or so. And we were doing over $100,000 each month, and some months getting close to $120,000 a month.
Well, I like that I like to have like a spectrum of people on the podcast. Like I just interviewed a guy that has grown to 1,200 visits a week amongst 3 doctors, but 1,200 visits a week in 2.5 years. But like, if that's not what you want to do, it's nice to know that you can be in that 120, 140 model and still make a great living, still build a really nice practice. Yeah. And as you bring in more new patients and as you keep them more, you can start to add more associates on, because it's a lot easier to hire an associate that you're expecting them to see 70, 80, 100, 120 patients instead of hoping that they can also see 500 people.
Exactly. You know? I feel like there's a lot of benefits to this model. One is like, first and foremost, it's just me being like a clinician first. I feel like I just get to be a clinician. I get to differentially diagnose and figure out what's going on with my patient and how to fix their movement and their posture and their segmental problems and really help them structurally and functionally and get great results. So first and foremost, it's the results driven aspect of it. I feel like I don't feel like that's possible in what I'm trying to achieve for a patient if I'm seeing so many people, unless I want to sacrifice my life completely and work 80 hours a week doing patient care, which I don't want to do.
Right.
Okay. So, and then a second part of why I think it's beneficial doing this is because what you said, it's scalable, having other people come in. It's like once I max out what I want to do, I'm not going to keep going higher, but I'm going to bring in other doctors because I also want to have enough here to offer the community that wants to come in and not have to tell them there's a huge long wait list to come in. Like for example, yesterday, not going to name any names, but I was a little bit horrified by this experience. And I reached out to this chiropractor directly and she responded and apologized. But so I have this family who I've taken care of for years, and their daughter has like horrible acute low back pain, sciatica. She's 5 hours away at school in this other part of Idaho. And she's looking for a chiropractor to see. And so she was looking for a Gonstead chiropractor because that's what she knows. And so I told her to go to the Gonstead referral directory because there's Gonstead doctors everywhere. And anyway, she found one where she was at and she called the office and they said, sorry, we can't get you in. We have a 1-year wait list. And she called back to the clinic and told me that. And I was like, I've never heard of that in my entire life, that a adjusting chiropractor has a 1-year wait list. I'm like, holy crap. Right. Yeah. So I called over to the clinic to find out what was going on. And there was a guy that answered the phone that was just super rude. He hung up on me on the phone. It was but basically that reinforced to me that that's why I brought on a associate doctor, not because I was looking for one, but he actually came to me and said he wanted to work at our clinic. But in my mind, I'm like, that's what we're going to need to do so that we can still offer these services to the community. And yes, there's lots of chiropractors around, and I'd love to sit on here and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and pretend all of us do the same thing, but we don't. Okay. Like, I think chiropractic is really better than a lot of other healthcare stuff out there, and it's a great way to go. But, and again, like, I don't really care what technique someone does, but I don't want to send my patient to someone that is just doing flying sevens on people and just doing gross manipulation. Like, I want a specific approach, because I take a lot of pride in how we take care of our patients, and it matters with their results. So I know I'm kind of getting off on a different.
Well, before I forget this part about, I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, like, some people are meant to be business owners and some people are maybe meant to be clinicians. A business owner somebody who's like an entrepreneur would never allow a situation where there was a 1 year wait list, because you're just missing out on the opportunity to grow your practice. Like, that's why I do think that if there were more business-minded entrepreneurial chiropractors that were filling their offices, like the doctors in the office, with amazing clinicians, that it would be hard to keep up with the demand. The harder part would be finding great clinicians to put into the practice. But man, if you have enough demand in your local area where you've got a 1 year wait list, that's a problem that should be getting solved.
Totally.
So you can help more people.
But solve it. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. It's a great problem to have. But, like, don't just have a 1 year wait list. Like, let's solve the problem through that. That's where the business side of it comes in. If all you're doing is just like, all I want to do is see the patients, and, like, I'm going to work 3 days a week and we'll have a 1 year wait list. I mean, I just feel like we're really missing the ball on some of this stuff. Because if you think that people are safer and healthier in your practice than not, then it's like you have a duty to run it the right way so that you can get people through.
Yes. A moral obligation, I feel like. Yes.
I agree.
Yep. Totally.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry. I just thought that was a good point.
No. Yeah. So I mean, that's it. Like, really, I think the thing that for sure grew us, though, in that third tier from, 500 to $1 million, and then really having good predictable collections each month based on a certain volume, is having systems, is having complete systems. And that's where I think, well, I know this, because just like you talked to a lot of chiropractors, I talk to a lot of chiropractors, and I have a lot of chiropractors who are part of our group and our system. So I'm consulting with them all the time. And the thing that I find of the difference in someone who's got it together and is already successful and just wants to scale it up and be more successful and offer more to their patient, versus the ones that are struggling, is the ones that are struggling don't have the basic systems in place.
Right.
Okay. And at this point in this day and age, I think a basic system in a chiropractic practice should include lots of automation, whatever you can automate. And it's kind of like that whole adage in public speaking. If it's not necessary to say, it's necessary not to say. Or even better, it's necessary to have a video tell it to the patient in a really classy way so the patient gets it, but you can be using your time wisely and you get a good reproducible message out to the patient every time. Then you meet with them in person, you answer questions, you solidify it, they get a better, well-rounded education, a better experience, and you're able to leverage your time, which time is our most valued commodity at this point.
Absolutely. Now you've made it to $1 million. Like, right now you're currently above $1 million. What is it that you're focused on? What is it that's going to allow you to continue to grow and to continue to scale in your practice?
It's pretty much getting our associate doctor busier. So something that we're planning on doing in the very near future is I'm actually scaling my hours back.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've realized I can see the same volume with more condensed hours. And I'm going to lengthen some of my hours a couple days a week to accommodate the patients that they get out of work later and that sort of thing. But I'm going to free up a good chunk of the day in the morning so I can do things like go out and do some of the public speaking in the community, which not to say that my associate doctor isn't doing it. He is, but I mean, nothing against him. I'm just more effective at doing it because I've done it for so long. And so something I'm going to do is I'm going to do that to drive more into the practice to help him build his practice a little quicker. And then he's going to build that up. I'm going to keep at my little bit lesser amount. And overall, the clinic's going to do better overall. And I'm going to have more time to to actually devote to this other labor of love, which is Move Now University.
Yeah. So the thing that I think that you're really smart about doing is, you're focusing on the things that like maybe not only you can do, but only you're going to be as good at and as effective. And you're like 1 hour going and doing a lunch and learn can lead to 5 or 10 new patients that with your systems, now associates can take care of those people. But if an associate has to leave the practice, go do the lunch and learn, and they can only convert 3 to 5 instead of 5 to 7, it's just like over time, especially if like you're like big chunks of time freed up to maybe where you can do 3 in a day, it's like now all of a sudden in one day you're producing 15 new patients. So I just think that as people get to the level that you're at, it's now you've got to focus in on the thing that only you can do. That's why I ended up getting out of seeing patients, was because I could find clinicians that were more passionate about treating patients than I was, but the marketing side of it and the business building side of it, that took a lot of like my brain power and my energy. And when I was seeing patients, I didn't have all of that energy for it. And so now I was able to like really focus on it. And we were talking about right before we got on this call that, content, like getting your message out there in a leveraged way, I think will be huge for your clinic, just because you've done such a good job with it with Move Now, which we'll talk about here in a second. But you're such a content creator that being able to educate just Eagle, Idaho on what it is that you do and what makes you different will just start to attract your tribe without you having to physically walk outside of the practice.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah. Well said. Yes, I agree. Good.
Sure, Nick. So let's talk about Move Now, because I do think that we'll have another podcast where we dive into the details of it. But when you're talking about adding functional movement and exercises into a practice, there is not, because I buy a lot of programs. I'm always on the lookout for new stuff that we can add to the practice or that I can add to the agency. I'm just a big believer in like I try to trade my abundance. So I give my money for freedom and knowledge. So those are my top 2 core values, is freedom and knowledge. And if I can buy your 17 years of experience thinking about it, because it's all you talk about, it's all you think about. I'm never going to care about functional movement as much as you do. And for anybody that doesn't really follow you, you do a lot, like you create a lot of content, but if you haven't seen inside the course, holy mackerel. Like, it is like unbelievable how much there's not one thing missing from that program. If you want to go from 0 to being like a functional movement guru, if you just did everything that Move Now has in the program, you would be well served.
Yep, I think so too. And really, just a side note, and I'm sure you can list this at the end, but right now, for doctors who want to see inside the program, I created a 30-minute screen share demo. And so it's demo.movenowU, like university.com. So demo.movenowU.com. And you can go in there and you can get it sent. You can basically get it sent to your email, so you can watch it later. You can watch it right away. But it's a 30-minute demo. And I go through all the stuff that I was just showing you as far as like a lot of the updates and stuff that we've done. And then it gives someone a pretty good idea of that. It's not just how to clinically measure movement and then fix it, but it's everything else outside of that. And I'll tell you, if I had to draw like a pie chart, that whole measuring and fixing movement is maybe a quarter of it. The other 75% is the systems of how do you get patients to care about it? How do you get them to pay for it? How do you get them to not say, can I just do this at home? How do you get them to actually want to come into your clinic for 45, 70, 90 minutes in some cases to do this, which like everyone now is talking about how people don't have any time and their time is so valuable and all this. Well, I'll tell you, our patients invest the time in the clinic because they see so much value in exchange for that time. Okay. And so the reason that it takes that time is because clinically we're teaching them a lot, and in a lot of states where you can get insurance reimbursement for the codes that we're doing, you got very stringent time code laws that you have to you have to go through certain amounts of time to be able to build certain units of exercise codes,
Right.
which is also what helps us deliver such a system is, of course, we're running a business. We have to bring in enough revenue from what we do to deliver such a high level of care to our patients. And then the nice thing about it is that you can do so in a very profitable manner as well.
Well, the reason why I signed up was because, so I'm an 8 weeks to wellness office. And so that for people that are looking to get healthier and lose weight and all that, it's a great, like, it's just a program that's basically prescribed for the 8 weeks that my associate doctors can just say, like, I think you'd be a good candidate for 8 weeks to wellness. Well, for the people that weren't either ready for 8 weeks to wellness or interested, what I liked about Move Now is that it was the same idea. Is it's a 12-week transformation, and it's like structured, and it's like something that they can. It's like a program that they can sell the patient into, that they know is going to on the end of it is going to create like a predictable result. And the patients like it because it is a structured thing instead of you just like kind of making it up as you go. And in my practice, I like for both the doctors to be able to have a consistent thing that they can talk about instead of like one says this, another says that. That what we were struggling with is we want everybody to do adjustments and exercise because I think that works the best in the long term. And we were getting stuck in the middle of if somebody wasn't like, didn't want to do the 8 weeks to wellness side of it, they weren't signing up or they weren't following through on the exercise piece of the care plans that the doctors were putting together. And because it wasn't like fun, like the thing I like about like your system is it kind of makes it a game. And because they didn't enjoy it, they ended up dropping out of chiropractic care
altogether
because of the exercise. Whereas if they would have never had the exercise, they would have gone through their care plan for just chiropractic. So it was just like, it was like a double loss, you know?
Yeah.
So now we are in the process of implementing it. And I like, man, you could not give, I buy a lot of courses for marketing and for the office. I don't think there's a course out there that has more support within the course of like everything you need to know. You don't have to go outside of this course to learn anything if you wanted to add functional movement. And I think you're crazy for charging what you do charge for it. Like when I realized like what it cost, I was just like, oh, this should be a lot more. Like this should be like a monthly recurring or something. And so it was like a no-brainer for me. And if you're adding functional movement, it's a no-brainer for you too.
Yeah. And maybe, and at some point, I mean, it is something that since we started it, we have been gradually increasing the price of it. However, I still want to comparatively keep it lower to what people would expect it to be. Because like I said in the beginning, the goal is to get more doctors on board and then also get them to be doing this indefinitely and have a network of doctors where we can all talk with each other and then and help each other. And then eventually our plan very soon is to build a doctor referral directory. So you have Move Now chiropractors all over the world on a site. And now, because like right now it's already starting to happen where people want to refer to another person to do something and we have to look and find out who do we have. And right now we have several doctors in Canada. We have 2 in Alaska. We have 1 in China. We have 1 in Australia. We have a couple in the UK, and then we got a bunch in the United States. So it's actually going global with this whole thing.
Right. That's great. Well, that one guy in China can handle China though, right?
And the whole China. That's right.
He should be fine. I think that I really am excited to like watch the journey because you have like such a great foundation. You've got a great product. Now it's just a matter of like getting out. I know you're talking more next year and you're really trying to like spread the message more about Move Now. And I think it'll be well received.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well.
All right. So demo.movenow.com, correct?
You got it. Yeah, that's it.
All right. So as someone who fully bought into the program, I think that anybody that is looking to move corrective exercise, functional movement into their practice, you should absolutely go check out that demo. You'll be blown away by how much value there is. I do not say those things lightly. Like anytime you hear me give somebody a compliment, on this podcast, it will be because I 100% believe it, and I couldn't be more complimentary to the program, but also to Todd in just like adding value to the profession. Even for people that are not paying members, like make sure you follow him at Move Now University, which is the free group. You'll just get a ton of value. If you're a student, man, this is the way you should be thinking as you come out of school. So, Todd, anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Last thing I would just say too, as of several months ago, we have a fully functioning website up. It's movenowu.com. And there's actually a store inside of there for chiropractors. They can go in, they have to put in their license and everything because it's not open to the public. We have to approve it. We're doing that because there's various products and things that Move Now doctors sell to their patients to do their home care. And if a patient stumbles on the site, they're going to see the full fee. They're not going to see what doctors get it for, which is extremely reduced. But check out movenowu.com. We also have a podcast as well. Which if you go to our website, you can link to the podcast there. That's the easiest way. And
what's the name of it?
You know, the reason I'm not saying it is because I know that we just
because it used to be Move Well podcast, right?
Yeah, now it's called the Move Now Chiropractor.
There you go. Okay, perfect.
Move Now Chiropractor. It's on iTunes and all that good stuff.
Nice.
So cool,
well, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Let me see. I think I can't see like how long it is, but I think that on top of being the best paid chiropractor in the history of associateships, you also have like reached the longest Path to a Million podcast interviews. So like always doing things big. Yeah, in terms of his time. Yes. And value. Like there was a ton of good stuff in there.
Well, I'm glad I can beat that. Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
I appreciate your time, man, and we will talk soon.
Cool. Sounds good.
We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Just because this episode is over doesn't mean you can't continue your path to $1 million practice. We've created chiropractic's most full-service marketing agency at Leverage Media to help you reach $1 million a year fast and continue to grow. You can get a free strategy session with me absolutely free right now. To get started, go to getmemorenewpatients.com. Once again, go to getmemorenewpatients.com, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Path to $1 Million podcast.